And I say we get started.
Yeah, me too. Let's do this.
Awesome.
We only have an hour.
Rock and roll. Let's rock and roll.
Okay, so welcome to the Inclusion Workshop. We're going to do this 4 weeks in a row. My goal is to say stuff that's actually interesting and useful for you and not waste your time. It's unlikely that everything I say is going to be brand new to all of you, and I'm interested in you guys learning from each other as well. My goals are for us to broaden your working knowledge about inclusion, and that doesn't mean that at the end of 4 hours online, you will now know how to include anybody that you ever come across at your camp. And that is okay. Our philosophy is that you can get better at inclusion by inches. Even though I feel serious urgency about inclusion, that doesn't mean that doing it urgently is always the best way to do it. So, Jack, what are your goals for these 4 weeks?
My goals are very similar to yours, and I want to bring up I want to illuminate some of the hidden curriculum around being on Zoom.
Okay, good.
What we're on. If you've used Zoom before, you probably have a lot of mixed opinions about lots of it and some really great opinions about it. So I'm going to ask, if you aren't talking, just to mute yourself. And I might mute you at different times. That doesn't mean that we don't want you to talk. We just don't want to hear your background if you aren't talking. So unmute yourself to talk and keep yourself muted when it's not your turn, and I'll do the same. At some points, we'll split up into little breakout rooms. If you've never seen that, they're really cool. What's going to happen is something's going to pop up on your screen, and you're going to get sent to a little room, and then I'll bring you back. I'll force you to come back into the big room at specific times. But in those rooms, please share with your heart and listen compassionately without trying to remove as much judgment as possible. So we're hoping that these are kind of safe spaces for folks to make mistakes and mess up and say stuff that they're, maybe on the edge of their learning. And that's okay. None of us are the 100% experts on anything. And when we start talking about things like inclusion, it becomes so much about so many individual people's individual view of the world that it's hard to sometimes say the right thing. And I want to push us all to work hard to try and say things that are not going to bring anyone offense. And at the same time, work hard to try and give people space to make mistakes in this kind of space. Sylvia, or as I like to call you, Sil, what's next?
Well, let's give a little bit of background on who we are, and then I would like everyone to type into the chat what camp they're from and what their role is, because I'm interested in what you guys are going to use the information for at your camp. So what's your role and what's your camp? And my role is that I'm supposed to be driving this wagon train, and I have started a couple of different camps. I currently run a overnight camp in Michigan for kids with autism and siblings and peers. I really care. I've run a camp for kids with medical needs. I've run really intensely diverse camps in a bunch of different ways. And it's really important to me. I have learned more information, more about myself from diverse environments than any other education in my life. And I believe really passionately about bringing that same positive opportunity, growth opportunity to more people. Jack, who are you?
Thanks, Sil. My name's Jack, and I grew up going to camp and loved camp. And the camp I grew up going to was relatively not very inclusive of most times of ways we talk about being inclusive at camp, whether it was neurotypical, racial, gender, queer, that kind of thing. It was a pretty rich, able-bodied, neurotypical white kid camp. And I loved it. So there's some cognitive dissonance there that we want to talk about. And so I spent 2 years driving around the country visiting over 200 camps with Laura. And then we met Sil, and she was like, well, you should probably start a camp, which we thought was impossible. But she was kind of like, well, I did it, and I'm not that smart. She was lying. She did it, and she is that smart, but she's also self-deprecating. And so Laura and I started Camp Stomping Ground with Sylvia and Scott Arzella and Sky James Davis in 2015. And that first summer, we had about 64 kids, and this summer we'll have over 600, and we're buying a camp. We're going to have our own property this summer, which has been a wild ride for us. And our thing is to inspire the next generation of radically empathetic decision makers, which is a mouthful that basically means, how do we get a bunch of people who are different from each other together, let them mess up together, and then work it out together. And we use a bunch of buzzwords like restorative justice and inclusion and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's about getting people together that are different and figuring our shit out. So you're probably not supposed to swear on these kind of things.
Well, it's ours, so.
We're being inclusive of curse words. Okay. And so.
First language, Jack. It's first language.
First language. I like that. That doesn't fly at the ACA. That's kind of where I'm at. And we try really hard to bring people like Sil and other folks to camp to help our staff and our kids feel more like 100% of who they are in our space. And I think that is what our big goal is for being an inclusive space, is trying to let people be the person they want to be in that space. And that's hard, and it's different, and I'm different in plenty of different spaces. But it's, I think, sad to run camp when you can't have people feel comfortable being the person they want to be in those spaces. And Sil, that starts with this weird idea that you taught us called the hidden curriculum. What's that?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to come up with a different term for hidden curriculum, because it's such a mouthful and it doesn't totally make sense. But maybe you guys will think of one, and then I will be eternally grateful. So the hidden curriculum is all of the unspoken and informal rules in a group or a space. And the hidden curriculum becomes really apparent when you're somebody who doesn't know what it is in a new space. So, for example, if you start a new job somewhere very, very formal, how many of you might feel a little bit uncomfortable? Like, what do I wear? Do I say hello? Do I say hi? Do I hug people? Like, that kind of thing in a new space is a little awkward. That's because of the hidden curriculum. If you go to a new church, for example, you might feel a little uncomfortable, like, how do they do it here? If you go to somebody else's camp and they sing the songs a little bit weird, and they they do some different culty stuff in the dining hall before everyone eats, that's not what your camp does. Or they have like a whole routine that they do at night or whatever it is. If the small ways that people do things are unfamiliar to you, that's hidden curriculum. Hidden curriculum is in some ways a major uphill if you're new, or if you are not, like, if you didn't grow up understanding all of the little rules that a group or an environment has. Jack, what part am I missing?
Well, I think one of the ways I like to think about it is, do you remember how many of you went to high school of some kind, right? So like walking into the cafeteria in high school is so bizarre if you aren't from this weird planet called that high school. Like, you walk in and like, if imagine if I like walk into the high school cafeteria at my own high school that I went to. I'd walk in and I'd be like, where do I sit? Like, you're looking around and you're like, well, it looks like for some reason those kids look the same and they all sat together for some reason. Like, why is that happening? Like, the stoners are over there and the seniors can sit in the back, but only the football players can sit there. And there's one freshman who gets to sit with the juniors because he's on the varsity football team, but he also, like, it's this totally bizarre world. And there's no signs that help you navigate that. Like, it would be really a lot easier in some ways, I think, if like above each table in the cafeteria, there was just a sign that said like the cool kids. And then like to be a cool kid, you had to check these specific boxes, like from Mean Girls. Right? Like, none of that is spoken or said or allowed or whatever. And it's like, is it good? Is it bad? And we can get into debates about those things about high school, maybe offline. But I think what the interesting part to me about the hidden curriculum, as Sil helps us look at it, is when we think about illuminating it or bringing it to light, we get to both help someone navigate that world. So if you brought your best friend to your high school and they went to a different high school, and you were like, yo, dude, like, we're going to go sit over there because, well, and remember, like, keep your head down when you walk by that person. And then we only have control over helping someone navigate the system. But as the people who run camp, when we illuminate the hidden curriculum, we also get to decide what parts of it we like and what parts of it we might want to change. Whereas in high school, you have some ability to change that, but really you're kind of stuck with what you got. We're kind of the shapers of that space, and it might take time to change culture and to change the hidden curriculum, but at least we can see it and then start to work on it. And that's the part that I think is really exciting still as you talk about this.
And the reason that we start a inclusion workshop talking about the hidden curriculum is because I don't think that we can become inclusive like one demographic at a time. So let's say, for example, like I think it's really awesome that the camp community has gotten on board to include like gender neutral cabins and like change their application to accept to not just have male or female as the gender questions. I think that's awesome. And I don't think that we're going to be able to get to better diversity by doing it like one demographic at a time, 1 year at a time. Does that make sense? Like by the time we get through all 1 million different kind of people there are, the best practice is going to be different for the one we started with. And the directors will have changed over and et cetera. And so I think thinking about it that way, like how can I make camp inclusive for just this one kind of people this year, that's okay, but I think we could do better. And one of the ways we can do better is by thinking about what is our culture, what is tricky about coming to camp for the people who aren't our classic demographic. So if your camp generally has middle class white kids who are not transgender there, then in some ways you don't have to think about now I need to get good at everybody else in order for my camp to be inclusive. You can just think about what would it be like for even somebody who's just new to your camp, or what is it like for a staff member who's new, and that when we illuminate and broaden the hidden curriculum, we're already including more people because, and this is where the hidden curriculum has so much to do with diversity and inclusion, is that a lot of people can figure out a new hidden curriculum. A lot of people can go to a new environment and like watch really closely and be really vigilant and really careful and learn all the rules and fit in. And there's definitely some people who can't do that, and I would like to include them too. But for now, let's talk about the people who can do that. Now, how many of you have actually done that? Put your hand up if you've had to go into a new environment and like learn all the rules and be really careful and like all of that, right? So that costs energy. It costs a lot of energy to do it. And that kind of energy at camp is like what people don't have extra of because we make them work 24 hours a day. So, and they're never alone. So if we're going to make them use up their energy just like getting used to our weird cult, then we end up like with people who are working with less than their 100%. So either it's staff or campers who have used up all their energy just trying to fit in. And so of course they're like not all gung-ho to play like crazy soccer with whipped cream or whatever. Like they're kind of tired because we made them do a bunch of pretending to fit in. Does that make sense? And so if the more we can explain the kind of strange culty things that we do in advance, and the more we can broaden what those are or invite people in or adjust what we're doing so that it's accessible to more people, the less we're making people burn their energy on just learning our new thing. Because as much as we love to feel like insiders at our camp, the hidden curriculum can make us feel like an insider. We know the songs, we know what to wear, we know who's cool, and we know how to like game the system to be cool at camp. As much as that feels good, it makes people outsiders who don't know it. And the whole point of camp is to not have a whole lot of outsiders. You guys with me? Okay. So when we talk about hidden curriculum, the most important and difficult time to illuminate the hidden curriculum is day one of camp, opening day. And one of the things that makes opening day so crazy is that it's brand new for so many people. That's one. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens on opening day. Like, for example, how many of your camps do a swim test on opening day? So let's say I'm brand new to camp, I've never been to camp before, and I show up and somebody's like, hey, welcome to camp. Like, change your clothes right here in front of everyone. We're going to go take a test. You know, that's uncomfortable. But meanwhile, we make it even more uncomfortable if I have to do like a bunch of other new stuff like that, like the way we eat is new, and the way that we change is new, and the way that we like pace ourselves through the day is new because we have to do it with 10 other people. It's also kind of weird, and there's some dissonance around that we're also acting like this is the best thing that's ever happened. So not only is it like a kind of a stressful and difficult day for a kid and for staff, we're also acting like it's the biggest party that's ever happened. So like you might be kind of a weirdo if you're not real excited to like change clothes in front of everyone and jump in the lake and take a test in front of strangers. That we're like, this is the biggest party we've ever had. We love it. You should love it. In fact, if you feel weird and lonely, you might not, like you should pretend that you don't, because we're all pretending we don't. Does that make sense? All right. So opening day is also a day where all of the like most qualified adults are doing what? Like working, right? We're like making lists and like moving stuff around and like handling business and talking to parents. So we sort of leave our least experienced staff out there to like translate the hidden curriculum and all the new stuff to the campers at the time where they feel the most nervous and when they know the least. You with me? All right. So this is where I want to start. Yeah, Jack.
I worked for this guy, Scotty Jackson, who always was like, yeah, you just get through the first 24 hours and then like the kids that go home are probably going to go home. They're going to be either homesick or whatever. And then you get through 24 hours and then you're ready to roll for the rest of the summer.
It's
and
true.
I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. That makes sense. And never once did I think to myself, hey, idiot, what if we just like figured out how to make those first 24 hours a little bit less of a train wreck for the kids to like acclimate to our system? How do we onboard them in ways like if you start playing a really hard video game in the middle, it's a lot harder than if you start in the beginning, because they have these like little tricks that help you learn little bits of how to get used to the space in the virtual space. So for me, it's about how do we help onboard people with little wins so that they can build up their confidence in our new space so that the first 24 hours are easier. And so that starts by illuminating the hidden curriculum, which is what you like to say.
I love that. And, you know, I love that the metaphor that you talk about if you bring someone over for dinner at your grandma's house, how like you're going to like lean over and whisper to them a bunch of times, like, oh, she likes you to take your shoes off. Or like, you wait for us, wait to start eating till everyone's here. Or like, yeah, she doesn't like condiments, so I secretly brought the hot sauce, or whatever it is. Like you're going to keep translating your grandma's house to whoever you brought there. And you're not going to hate on them for not being like their usual goofball self because they're trying to like learn your grandma's house. Does that make sense? You're going to like cut them some slack that they aren't jumping in right away. And for a lot of camps, opening day is almost like hazing day for participation. Like you have to get so nuts here. You have to be silly in front of everyone. That is what we do here. And that's like part of what makes the vibe so cool, is that people who throw themselves off the cliff usually find out that it is safe. But I don't think we should like make it quite so difficult for people that aren't ready to throw themselves off the cliff. If you think about like the way that a lot of adults are at camp, like if you think about your favorite camp photos, right? Like somebody is wearing a giraffe costume and somebody's like nickname is like cupcake face, and somebody's like, you know, covered in paint and acting crazy. And then to the kids, we're like, this is who you should trust with your safety and well-being. Whether or not you're used to that at all, like these are your people, right? You should tell them if something's bothering you. But so kids who aren't familiar with that style of like interacting are going to feel a little on the outside. Anyway, I'm soapboxing for too long. So here's what I want to do. We're going to do our first small group. And in your small group, you guys are going to brainstorm like all the hidden curriculum that you could think of for opening day at your camp. Like you're maybe take turns and say, like, walk through opening day and say what you think the hidden curriculum is, like, right away when people get there. Then what is it as they walk into their cabin? What is it for swimming? What is it in the dining hall? All the hidden curriculum of opening day. What are the things that are unspoken expectations for your camp on opening day? Informal, unspoken expectations for your camp on opening day. And it's not a test, so we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it, and it's okay if you didn't hit all the marks or you kind of talked about the hidden curriculum in a different way. That's my hidden curriculum. It's okay. Groups of 4, groups of 8, talk about it exactly or not. We're here for learning and sharing. Jack, did I miss anything?
Sorry, I was making the rooms.
Okay, making the rooms, great.
And they are ready. So that sounds perfect. And I will force you to come back at the time that it like brings you back, so you don't have to do anything. And just click accept going to rooms and go.
Have fun, guys.
Start recording again. In a second, it's going to be the best part when everyone comes back at the same time. So cool when everyone comes back together. Everyone just like pops up like popcorn. That part's so fun. Oh gosh, I am a nerd, so.
I like that about you. I like nerds.
So, first of all, let's do this actually. This is still, I'm going off book, okay?
Do it.
What was it like? What was like some of the hidden curriculum that you were trying to navigate in the made up weird culture that was 4 or 3 people in a weird box in different places on the planet, but in your little groups? What was that kind of like? The meta discussion, not like what you actually talked about.
Well, hi, I'm Kelly. I think I felt like it was like who's going to talk or who's going to take the lead, and then we had a couple of people who couldn't get their video going, so we were talking to a black box named Kate, but it really was Kate Coral. So there was the whole bunch of that, and then you started flashing the thing that said time to come back, and we were like, whoa, we didn't even talk. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on.
Okay, thank you.
And Kelly was really good at taking notes, and I wasn't.
Nice.
So, am I not keeping up with everybody?
I'm naturally bossy. I can't help it.
I would say that it was tough to, we didn't know how much time we had in our boxes, so being able to divide it up and kind of give everybody equal time was a challenge.
Fair. We thought of that right after you guys left. We were like, oh, we didn't say how long.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the hidden curriculum and developing and illuminating the hidden curriculum is when you do it with people that are doing it together for the first time, it's one kind of hidden curriculum illumination because everyone kind of comes and tries to figure out where they fit. And then at camp, most of the time, what we're doing is having some portion, some starter for the culture and the hidden curriculum already set, and then adding new people. And that's like a little bit of a different game that we're trying to work through. So,
totally.
So Sil, what about opening day?
Well, let's hear out some of the things in the chat. What are some parts of, what were some of the things that you guys came up with for opening day or for like the first time, like first day, first time at your place kind of things? Write them in the chat. What are some of the things your group came up with or some of the things you thought of for hidden curriculum on opening day or first time visitors? Totally. Registration. Especially if there's like faxing of paperwork to do. Living in a group space. Absolutely. Yep. The check-in process. Totally. Ooh, I like that, Devin. We're skipping ahead a little bit to the good ideas, but I like that. Yes, totally. Telling everyone exactly what to expect really quick. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Yes, absolutely. The like little like unstructured time when between like the first people to arrive and then like the actual programming start is so full of awkwardness. I'm almost like allergic to that part. Like if I have to walk into a cabin where that's happening, I just feel so cringy and like say awkward things to like try to make it better. And yes, that part's hard. Yep. All of the food things. Yep. Yeah, is it going to be locked? Or like, how come I can't wear my headphones? Or if it is okay to wear headphones, like, how come I didn't know it was okay because I didn't bring mine? Or, yep. When is it okay to be silly? Totally. And how many of you guys do something weird in the dining hall before you get to eat? Anybody weird procedures in the dining hall? Or do you just get to come in and eat when no stops, no nothing? Because most camps have a bunch of like culty things that happen in the dining hall, and that one is hard to explain because the usual way we explain it is like this on the mic in the dining hall. That's what it sounds like, just if you're sitting in the back and they're like pointing at the weird trash things and pointing at the trays, and most kids are like, I guess I'll figure it out when I get up there. Okay. Yes, Devin, will you explain a little more about what you mean? We may recognize what is weird to us or we may not.
We're probably so used to something, so we don't even realize what we're doing.
Yeah, totally. And that's sort of one of the strategies that we're going to get to in a little bit is who can you ask? Like who was new or who didn't come back or who is someone who's like was first time last year, those kinds of things. There are people who are experts in being new at your camp, but they're not usually on the leadership team. Okay, so our next activity here is this. Who struggles with the hidden curriculum at your camp? Or who struggles with the hidden curriculum in any new scenario? And this one I think is probably easier if you type them in the chat too. But like what kinds of people are struggling with the hidden curriculum at your camp?
Wait, but don't do it yet. Don't send it yet. I want to play a game while we do it.
Great.
Okay, so this is what I want to do. Everybody hands up like this, you know, like womp, 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 womp. Okay, you don't have to dance. Here's what I want. I'm going to do a countdown from 10. And when I start, you can start typing. And if you want, you don't have to participate if you don't want to, but it's more fun for me if you do, so please do it for me. Type in some groups of people or characteristics of folks who might struggle with the hidden curriculum, like seeing the hidden curriculum at your camp. And then when I get to 0, we'll all hit send.
Ooh.
Thumbs?
Okay.
All right, ready. 10. You can start typing. You can start typing now. 9. 3, 2, 1. Send it.
Ooh,
That was so cool.
that was good.
That part's so cool when it bounces. To be honest, I did feel
new people, neuroatypical people, learning disabilities, new to the area, non-native speakers. I want to add in some like people who are older, like if we're talking about staff, people who are older than your usual demographic or people who are younger than your usual demographic, people who didn't grow up going to camp, people whose parents didn't go to camp. So that's like a lot of people. And we haven't talked about like why I care about inclusion so much, because I'm assuming you guys care because you're on here. But I don't think, like, it kind of drives me nuts when we talk about inclusion, like it's like the poor, pitiful people who need to be included are the point. Because I think it's true that it's nice for people who aren't usually included to be more included. But I also think like everyone is missing out if everyone's the same. Like if I'm in a group of people who are all like me, then my experience is suckier than if there was people who are different from me in that same group. So I don't like when we think about it like, oh, our camp could go the distance and like bring in a few extra, like charitably bring in a few extra people. What I feel like is that it's doing all the kids wrong if all the kids are the same. That it's basically sending all those kids the message that like we only are extra inclusive when the law forces us to be, and that's okay. And that's not something I think is the message any organization's trying to send. So when we're actively inclusive, when we illuminate the hidden curriculum, when we make it easy to join and be an insider, we're sending the message to everybody that this is how you conduct yourself in a group where people might be different from you. And that's powerful for your current constituents, not just like the new people who might find out that you're inclusive. Okay, I'm loving this. Jack, what did you like from that list?
I thought it was a pretty comprehensive list. Something I think that is true at my camp is that we are about 70% white kids and about 60% white staff. And I think that that tends to be that people are from like suburban white culture that are the majority of people at my camp. And so there are a bunch of kids and a bunch of staff who tend to be people of color, tend to be folks that are a little bit more urban, that miss on some of the stuff that like I do naturally, or not exactly naturally, that I've like kind of grown up in, and that we miss on some of the illuminating the hidden curriculum in ways that is right for them. So I think that was one of the things I didn't see as much, but I loved the neuroatypical. I think we're going to spend a lot of time next week talking about that. And younger kids, I totally agree. Younger kids are just constantly trying to find the hidden curriculum for like the whole world. They're just like, I don't know, dude, should I just like bump into the wall or what?
I had another idea that I wanted to get in here while we're talking about hidden curriculum. And that's that I think camp, one of the things that makes camp this like high energy project is that one element of most camps' hidden curriculum is that we highly value extroverts. Like we like literally clap for the people who are being the like loudest and the wildest. But I don't know if that's really the message we're trying to send to all campers, that you have to be this like extremely extroverted person to have a good time at camp or to be part of the community. And if you're shy, then you should pretend like you're not shy so that you can fit in here. And I think this is like, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. So I think things are changing, not just because of us, but because the whole community is starting to think about why are our success stories like this? A kid came to camp and they were so shy and they didn't talk to hardly anyone. They only had like one friend. And then by the end of camp, they performed in the talent show. So therefore, we made an upgraded person because now they're an extrovert and we value extroverts. Like, I definitely think that the success stories of camp are about gaining confidence and being okay with who you are. So if you were like a closet public clown or like a closet weirdo and then you come out to be super weird at camp and everybody loves it, that's great. But if you're actually shy and you stay shy and you go home feeling confident about that it's okay to be an introvert or it's okay to be shy, that's a win to me. And I think part of the way that we communicate our values is in the hidden curriculum. Like, it's not like when you sign up for camp you get some kind of email that's like, dear introverts, I'm sorry, but you will never be alone. For like, dear introvert staff, you're never going to be alone for 10 weeks. And also, we expect you to pretend to be super perky and like sign up for like wild times, even if you don't really feel like it. That seems like sort of unfair. Like, who could pretend to be happy that long, that many days in a row? But that's our hidden curriculum for staff. So I guess I just wanted to throw it out there that we didn't put introverts on our list of people who are missing the hidden curriculum at camp. And maybe it's because they're not missing it, but I think sometimes that's who's excluded from camp specific hidden curriculum. Is people who are more naturally introverted or people who like recharge or regenerate from being alone. That is really hard to do at camp. And in a lot of public recreation spaces, there's not a lot of like, you could do this alone. You could be alone for a second type of activities. Okay. So this is our next thing, is I want us to do a brainstorm about how could you illuminate the hidden curriculum especially about opening day, but also about camp in general. What are some strategies you could do to communicate about some of those informal, unspoken aspects of your culture, either in advance of camp or right away on opening day? Like, how could you illuminate it better? And do you want to do, let's do 5-minute breakout for this one, Jack. So we're going to do a 5-minute breakout, and I want you to brainstorm some ways that you could do it. Maybe not you personally at your camp, but somebody could at your camp illuminate the hidden curriculum about either first-time people or opening day, whether it's staff or campers. We're just looking for like a little baseline cluster of ideas.
So do you want to do any examples or start from scratch? Because you don't want to.
I do want to do some examples. So like you could make a video about the way that people take care of themselves at camp, take care of their basic needs. Like what is eating like here? What does the cabin look like? What does the bathroom look like? People bring like about some of the little tricks and hacks people do, like bring a towel that has Velcro on it so it's easier to change underneath, or like you don't bring your whitest sneaks because they will get dirty, or like a video in advance or a letter that you could write to families that illuminate some of it. Those are some ideas about illuminating it. Another one is to let people wait and watch first without it being like a last ditch effort that it's okay to watch, but just like it's okay from the beginning that it's okay to watch, and tell people that up front. Those are some like very initial ideas for illuminating the hidden curriculum. But
Love
let's
that.
do some more in your groups about your camp in particular.
5 minutes, and it'll be the same. It'll be the same groups, and it'll be the same process for coming back. Ready, set, go.
Welcome home.
Thanks.
Jessica, where are you located right now?
I am in my beautiful new administrative office building in the Manistee National Forest in West Michigan.
That's
Cool.
so cool.
Yeah.
I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Jessica.
Oh, right on. I wanted to come to the in-person thing, but we have a training thing that's happening here that weekend, so we couldn't do it.
Dang.
Whoa, and we're back. I love that. It forced you all back. You weren't even done with your conversations. Imagine if you could do that when you're like facilitating staff orientation with your staff, and like they're still talking about like, yeah, and then da, 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 and you could just like hit a button and they would all have to like turn their chairs like.
I'm gonna work on that.
No, that's terrifying. So I can't do that. That's a
You
horrifying.
would do it all the time just for fun.
I know that's a horrifying dystopian future that I don't want to live in, though. So let's. But still.
Okay. Well, can we do your game again, where you guys type in like a couple of things that you thought were good ideas from your group discussion? Like, what are some things that you can actually do, your camp could actually do to illuminate the hidden curriculum? Like your first tangible takeaways from today's stuff. Get your fingers ready. You got 10 seconds to type, and then we'll all enter them in.
Ready, start typing. 10. I slowed down. 3, 2, 1. Send it.
Ooh. I like signs. Nice.
Designated
Nice.
spaces to go. I love that.
Yeah. Like everybody's reading face too, looking at the chat. It's like, this is what always makes me feel old, because I feel like I need to like squint up next to it. Like, what was that?
Social stories, videos for the first day.
Yep, love it. Pairing up a new camper and returning camper. I like that. Social stories. I like giving campers chances to ask questions, and then making the hidden curriculum that questions are expected. That's good. All right, great. Okay, who read that chat list and then saw another idea that they were also going to do, like got an idea from someone else? Anyone? me and Jack are really big on idea stealing, because it's terrifyingly lengthy process if you have to come up with all of it all on your own. So part of the point of this group is to steal ideas from each other in a good way, borrow ideas, share ideas, if you will. And one of the other things that we have is a Facebook group with all of the inclusion people who did our program last year and then went through their first summer doing that job. And there's a link to that in the email that Jack sent earlier today with the Zoom link. So if you want to join that Facebook group, then you can also talk to each other and share ideas as we go. And the other people who did it last year can chime in with some of their ideas, etc. Okay, so I think all of the ideas that you guys mentioned and that we talked about before we went into the breakup, all of those basically require some kind of like logistics, right? Like someone has to do it. And sometimes it requires like more staff in any given moment, or more time from somebody, or organization beforehand, right? Some kind of logistics are needed to support this kind of inclusion. And that is part of what we're hoping to illuminate in this workshop, is that if you are going to be the inclusion person, some of these might be your job, but that they might require like a sign off or support from your boss, your supervisor, or their boss. And so one of the things that we encourage you to do throughout this workshop is to keep a list of the things that you might want to talk to your boss about at the end of doing this, or each week as you do it. Because there's going to be things that you might need to ask for. We've found that being the like sole inclusion person in an organization is one of the loneliest jobs ever, because inclusion is kind of difficult. And so it's like, if it was super easy, then people would have been doing it this whole time. But the fact is, it takes logistics and it triggers a lot of our isms. And so it's tricky work. It requires like some vulnerability, it requires actual effort, it requires time. And so if somebody has the job of inclusion, then it's almost like everybody else in the organization is like, well, and so we don't want you to be lonely in your job. What we want is for you to keep speaking up about what you might need and keep partnering with your boss and coworkers on these projects. So that there's no way that one of you could do all the things on this list, but the more you talk about what you need, the more likely it is that someone could do it for you or get it for you. So start your lists. That is so you have 2 homework assignments.
Well, 3 homework assignments. I want to give a third one too. So.
Ooh. Okay. Thing
I'll go
one.
first. I'll go first.
Jack, you want to go first?
I want to go first because mine is not real.
Okay, good.
I want you. So I went to school for industrial engineering, which is the study of processes. I love logistics. We've been working with Sil on this since the beginning of our camp. We literally did not have a hidden curriculum before Sil started talking to us about the hidden curriculum, and we still are not done. And I, from this, already have like 4 or 5 more ideas that I want to do at our camp to help illuminate the hidden curriculum. So I want you to forgive yourself right now and say it's okay that it's not going to be perfect this summer, next summer, the summer. It's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. And it's still worth doing. And let's celebrate the small wins as we go and share the cool stuff that we're doing with each other so we can kind of keep rocking and rolling. Because it's okay that we're not done, and it's worth it to try harder and harder every year.
I totally agree with that. And like always, after Jack says something inspirational, I'm the one who's like, and you parked your car in the wrong place, and you have to move your bump to somewhere else, and here's the actual homework also. So mine is that number 1, start your list of what you're going to talk to your boss about. So write down some of these ideas that you might want to do, make some notes about the hidden curriculum. If you don't have a meeting every week, you can save these things up till the end, but start talking about it now, start advocating now when it might be possible to make some logistic shifts before summer. If you wait till May, then most bosses are like, well, maybe next year. Okay, then the other thing is this is across all 4 of these, we're going to assemble kind of an inclusion kit, like a basic inclusion kit. And the first item that you're going to make for your kit is a letter. And the point of this letter is to illuminate some of the hidden curriculum at camp. And I want you to write it, this format that you're going to write is like, I want you to write a letter as if your kid cousin is going to come to your camp for the first time. And they don't know anything about camp. They have never been to any camps. You're going to write them a letter about camp, what to expect, how to be ready. And we're going to talk about these letters when we come back next week. But the idea is that you might end up modifying this letter a little bit so that it's for anyone who comes, but it could be ready to go so that as on opening day, if you see someone who's like, what planet am I on now? You could hand them a letter that they could read so that you don't have to explain everything about camp out loud or single them out or do a 20-minute presentation or show them a video or whatever. It's just ready to go. Written communication is inclusive and it's prepared so that the hidden curriculum behind giving someone a letter is, you're not the only one who's ever wondered some of these things. You're not the only one who's ever wondered what planet this is.
And I want to push again, done is the enemy of perfect here, or
Yeah.
Perfect is the enemy of done. That's the one. Because of course it would be perfect. It would be better to have different types of letters for 5-year-olds than 13-year-olds and for blah, blah, blah. Of course that's true, but let's write one right now and then we can move forward from there. Instead of trying to write the perfect letter for every single situation, we'll have one that would work for your 8-year-old cousin who comes from the suburbs near your whatever, and then we'll go to the next. You can expand upon that as you get better.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
You said you're sending it to your 8-year-old cousin. Is the letter supposed to be from the camp, so it's an official camp letter, or am I writing it to my friend and saying, "Hey, your kid's going to camp. My kid camp went last year. These are some things." So, do you want it to be? I'm going to write it differently if it's from the camp than if it's from my friend, right?
You're writing it from you personally to the kid personally.
And I'm not the camp director.
You're like who you actually are at camp.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
And the kid doesn't have to be 8. It's just a camper. But the reason that I said it's like your cousin, because I think it gives it a little more like it's not a faceless camper.
Right. And it's to the kid, not the parent.
It's to the kid, yeah, because the whole point of the kit is that you would use it for kids.
Okay.
And I would love for you to develop a bunch of stuff that you use pre-camp. But I think most of the like fires that you're going to end up putting out are things that are happening in real time, like with kids at camp. And that many of them can be avoided by doing a bunch of pre-work, but that's often not what we're ready for at first. Okay, so you're going to write the letter. You're going to forgive yourself for all the imperfections to come and the imperfections in the past. And you're going to start a list of demands for your boss. Friendly demands. You can say, you can send them to me. Put your boss on the phone. I'm going to ask too, whatever it is. You can actually connect your boss to Jack and I if you want to have a like more individual conversation about inclusion at your particular camp. We're happy to do that. Send us an email. We'll figure out a time that we can do that. I would wait a few sessions so that we can help you make all the demands. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're over time. So write in the chat, what was your favorite part about today? What was the takeaway from today? And my favorite part was watching everybody get a little more comfortable, even though I know we're all in our own spaces and everything, that at first everybody's like, and then now I'm seeing a couple more smiles, a couple more comments. I love that. Okay, so write in the chat. We're not doing the thing this time. You just write whatever you want. What's your takeaway from today? And go.
Breakout rooms. Love that this is interactive, hearing the ideas. Realities of the hidden curriculum created by staff, recognized and talked about. I love that.
Aw, thanks. Yes, stealing ideas.
Love, hate that my brain is swimming. I love that. I feel that almost always when I get to spend time with Sil. I'll just be totally honest. And thank you all so much for coming to hang out with us. And we're going to keep doing this kind of stuff. And please, please comment, post things in the Facebook group. And this is the thing that I think as camp people, we sometimes are the worst at because camp people, the hidden curriculum is like, we're supposed to be modest and not talk about like when we're awesome at stuff. And I want to say, post in Facebook the stuff you're awesome at. Hey, we made these signs. Hey, we tried this thing, because then I'm going to steal it and make my camp better because of the cool stuff you did. And that makes all of our stuff better. And definitely ask questions too. But I want to try and like break that barrier to say like, we're all doing this because we want other people's ideas. So don't be afraid to share them. And it's okay if they're like 80% done or half baked, or that's okay, because that's a great way to start the conversation and get us moving. So please share your stuff. And hi, Allison. It's great to see you. And y'all are the best. And we'll see you next week. And I'll post this recording in the Facebook group as well, so you can go watch it again later or share with your boss if you're like, Sylvia said this really cool thing and I can't remember it. Bam, there it is. So y'all are the best. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.